Recording in progress.
There we go. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you all for coming tonight. Before we get started, I would like to welcome Pastor Lowe with City Church, who will lead us in tonight's invocation.
All right, thank you. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for another day. Every day that we have is a gift from you. So we want to use it, steward it, and honor you with everything that we do. So Lord, I pray that tonight, as this council meeting goes on, that it would be conducted with wisdom and guidance, and you would continue to bless this city. God, give our mayor and our council members the wisdom to keep us going in the direction we are. And Lord, we pray that you would be honored and glorified in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Lott. I would like to call the regular meeting of the Milton City Council for Monday, August 5th, 2024 to order. The city strongly recommends that you review tonight's agenda carefully. And if you wish to speak on any item on the agenda, then please bring your comment cards to the clerk as soon as possible. While the Milton rules allow a speaker to turn in their comment card up until the clerk calls the agenda item, once the agenda item is called, no more comment cards can be accepted. Will the city clerk please call roll and make general announcements?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before I call roll for the August 5th, 2024 regular City Council meeting, I would like to remind those in attendance to please silence all cell phones at this time. Those attending the meeting who would like to make a public comment, you are required to complete a public comment card prior to the agenda item being called. After any comment cards received after the item has been called will not be accepted. All speakers will identify themselves by name, address, and organization before beginning their comment. If you are representing an organization, a notarized affidavit is required stating you have the authority to speak on behalf of that organization. Please review tonight's agenda, and if you would like to make a comment, please bring your cards to me now. Demonstration of any sort within the chamber is prohibited. Please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, outburst, or dialogue with any person speaking. Anyone in violation will be asked to leave. Mayor and Council, as I call roll this evening, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Peyton Jamison.
Here.
Councilmember Andrea Veerhoff.
Here.
Councilmember Doug Haney.
Here.
Councilmember Juliet Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Jan Jacobus. And Councilmember Phil Crammer.
Here.
For the record, Councilmember Cookley is absent. Mayor, you have a quorum. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next is the approval of the meeting agenda. There is no executive session tonight. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting agenda?
Make a motion to approve the meeting agenda as provided.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Cranmer and a second from Councilmember Haney to approve the meeting agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. Next is general public comment. Do we have any public comment?
Mayor, I do not have any general public comment.
Okay, I'll waive the public comment and I will ask you to call the next item, please.
Mayor, that next item is going to be our consent agenda. That first item is going to be approval of the July 22nd, 2024 regular City Council meeting minutes. Agenda item number 24215. B is approval of the financial statements and investment report for the period ending June 30th, 2024. Agenda item number 24216. C is the council ratification of a 10-day due diligence period extension for 12875 Arnold Mill property acquisition contract. Agenda item number 24217. D is approval of a services agreement between the City of Milton and BAM Consult Sales, Inc. for on-call tree removal services. Agenda item number 24218. E is approval of a services agreement between the City of Milton and 12 Tree LLC for on-call tree removal services. Agenda item number 24219. Next is approval of a services agreement between the City of Milton and LTRC-OPS, Inc., doing business as LTRC Tree Specialist for on-call tree removal services. Agenda item number 24220. Our final consent agenda item is approval of a modification to the blanket right-of-way acquisition approval for the Bethany Road, Providence Road Roundabout Project. Agenda item number 24221. Mayor Jamison.
Thank you. Do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as read.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Verhoff and a second from Councilmember Johnson to approve the consent agenda as read. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. We'll move on to reports and presentations. Will the city clerk please sound the item?
Mayor, that first item is a proclamation recognizing the Friends of Mayfield Park's contributions to our community. Mayor Jamison.
Thank you. Tonight, I am absolutely honored to give this proclamation to a fantastic group of residents led by Shannon Anderson, who really have gone above and beyond, really benefiting the community. They've come out of pocket to providing trails and seeds and making the Mayfield Park a beautiful place for our residents to enjoy. We have fantastic residents in this area that really give back to our community, and this proclamation is for them and is a great example of what our community is about. So for that, I will read this proclamation, and then I'll ask Ms. Anderson and all the residents of Lakeside at Crabapple to come up and we'll take a picture. So this is a proclamation recognizing the selfless service and community impact of the Friends of Mayfield Park. Whereas Milton is an outstanding place to live for many reasons, the foremost among them being the outstanding people who call it home. And whereas the Friends of Mayfield Park are a prime example, having selflessly volunteered their time to improve the city's 5-acre space in the heart of downtown Crabapple. And whereas the Friends went above and beyond upon claiming Mayfield Park's trail through Milton's new adoptive trail program, carrying through on their pledge to keep it clean, then building out and mulching the trail. And whereas their contributions also include standing the pier overlooking the park's lake, improving its appearance for visitors and those driving by. And whereas they regularly demonstrate dedication to keeping Mayfield Park a neat, beautiful, accessible, and inviting place. And whereas the Friends of Mayfield Park have been reliably caring, collaborative, and productive partners with the city of Milton in ways big and small. And whereas the city of Milton appreciates and commends the Friends of Mayfield Park for making a positive, meaningful difference in our community. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Milton, recognize the selfless service and community impact of the Friends of Mayfield Park. This is given under my hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia, on this 5th day of August of 2024. Thank you.
Asheville group, y'all need to come over here.
Oh, I guess we'll move it back and stand in front of it.
Mayor, do you want her to help?
Extra
Jen?
lessons? Oh my,
First day of school.
oh my gosh, so no lessons at all, huh?
It's amazing.
There.
Genuine. Okay, you ready? 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Great, thank you all.
Black Waters classes. Black Waters classes. Those are cool.
I know. Look, take that baby.
Hey, Tammy, do you want to move the next one to the bottom of the list? And
Let's do that,
Do
yes.
it into the night?
I'm okay with that.
You'll please call the next item.
Mayor, that next item is a proclamation recognizing the Cambridge High School girls lacrosse team. Mayor Jameson?
Thank you. I tell you what, it is fantastic. I can give a proclamation to the Cambridge girls lacrosse team because over the many years, we've had to give it to the other team in our city. So, I'm looking forward to maybe we can do like a pay-per-view matchup to see Cambridge and Milton. But seriously, thank y'all for all that y'all have done. I can tell you hard work has paid off over the many years. Not only the investments that we make in our community for the parks and recreational programs, but your parents and the sacrifices that everyone has had to make driving y'all to all your practices and your travel leagues. And I know it's very demanding on the family, but I will tell you what, we're very proud of you. Not only are y'all great athletes, you're great human beings. And I know y'all are going to be very successful in everything that y'all do. So with that, I'm going to read this proclamation. And I think do we have some going off to college soon? Or any college students in here? Okay. I know y'all are going to be very successful in your next stage of life. So very honored to read this proclamation. Now, this is a proclamation celebrating the Class 5A and 6A state champion Cambridge High School girls lacrosse team. Whereas in its 12th season, the Cambridge High School girls lacrosse team earned the program's first ever state championship. And whereas the Bears rallied from a halftime deficit to defeat a talented Blessed Trinity squad to take home the Class 5A, 6A title. And whereas this victory culminated a successful spring during which Cambridge High compiled an 18-4 regular season record before proceeding through the state playoffs. And whereas the squad thrived because of girls who were thirsty to be coached, looked out for, and loved one another, and followed the lead of 5 selfless seniors. And whereas these Bears also excelled well beyond the lacrosse field, including in the classroom, sporting an impressive team GPA, and I think I'm reading this right, of 93%, which is fantastic. And whereas the city of Milton is extremely proud of these 21 students for their championship accomplishment last spring, and more importantly, for being outstanding young women with bright futures. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Milton, recognize and celebrate the state champion Cambridge High School girls lacrosse team, given under my hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia, on this 5th day of August of 2024. Congratulations. Y'all will come up. We're going to take a picture just like last time, but Mr. Gregg's going to figure this one out.
This is a lot of this. I'm like the organized player. House of Two Boys.
Totally different.
One little behind you.
It's like painting a cross.
I think you need to do the sorority pose.
Never done, Mr. Richard, never done.
Yeah, congrats.
You're welcome to stay. I'm sure they're all looking forward to that. How fast?
I know.
You still have to park way far away. Oh, wow. Okay. I just saw Denise and Jason Moore walking out. I didn't realize they were out there.
Move up. Move to the front row.
Yeah.
Okay, will the city clerk please stay on the next item?
I will, Mayor. One of my favorite items tonight is going to be the presentation of the Comprehensive Summer Internship Final Projects. I'm going to invite Miss Emily, our Community Outreach Manager, Miss Emily Salerno.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's my pleasure tonight to introduce to you guys our 2 comprehensive summer interns that we've had. Every summer, we hire roughly 2 college-aged kids, young adults is a better way to call them, and they really work with every department within the city. It's much more than a coffee internship. They get to do really big, meaningful projects that really touch the majority of the departments within the city. So first we have Jack Farrell, whose dedication and innovative thinking have made a significant impact on our team. Jack has approached every task with enthusiasm and a commitment to excellence, and it's been my pleasure to watch him grow this summer. Next, we have Morgan Solili, whose creativity and diligence have brought fresh perspectives and valuable insights to our projects. Morgan's ability to tackle challenges head-on and deliver outstanding results has been truly impressive. Both Jack and Morgan have shown remarkable initiative, adaptability, and passion with us this summer. Their work has not only advanced their own professional development, but within all of our departments as well. As our internship unfortunately comes to a close this Wednesday, I'm excited for you guys to hear all of the things that they've been up to this summer. And we are very sad to lose them, but they've been a huge, huge contribution to us. So I'll pass it off to Jack and Morgan.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. We are this year's comprehensive summer interns, and we're here to talk about our experiences this summer. So some introductions. My name is Morgan Slowly. I'm currently a junior at the University of Georgia. I'm studying political science and economics on the pre-law track, and I've lived in Milton for around 13 years now.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jack Barrow. I live in North Druid Hills. I'm a senior at the University of Notre Dame, and I'm studying political science and business economics. So before Morgan and I tell you a little bit about some of the projects we did this summer, I first want to talk a little bit about what it was like being an intern this summer. So our program was a 10-week program. We usually worked Monday through Wednesdays from 8:30 to 4. And we primarily worked with Parks and Recreation under the guidance of Emily, and we felt like we were part of the team from day one. It's been awesome. This program has been unique because we had the opportunity to work with many of the departments that make up the city of Milton. And we were able to attend meetings where we could learn about the work that each department does to serve the citizens of Milton. Morgan and I really appreciated the ability to work on hands-on projects with each department that not only strengthened our professional skills, but made us feel like we made a tangible impact on the city this summer. And that was a really cool experience for us.
So to go through some of our bigger projects that we worked on this summer, we're going to start with our facility and field rentals packet. This project was with Parks and Recreation. And what we did in this project, we simplified information on the facilities and sports fields that Milton has available for the community to rent. And we put all this information into one packet to reference quickly. Our packet explains the process to rent one of Milton's facilities or fields, and it also details the rental prices, the hours of operation, and potential uses of the properties. So we included maps and pictures, and we gave a detailed look into each facility and its amenities. And what we learned just how much Milton takes pride in its parks and green spaces, and how preserving Milton's rural heritage is at the center of everything the city does.
The next project we did was the code enforcement project with the community development team. For this project, we were tasked by a member of the community development team to survey and take pictures of roughly 100 businesses around the Milton area to ensure that businesses met the standards put forth by the city. We took pictures of signs, posters, and walls. And once we took all the pictures, we uploaded them into a folder that was available for a member of the ComDev team to view. And if there was any problems, they could reach out to the business if anything looked out of place. Before doing this project, I thought that city governments were more focused on things like planning events or maybe infrastructure projects or something like that. But I think this project made me kind of understand the regulatory component of the city. This project opened my eyes to how the city acts as a regulatory body that enforces the laws and codes that help the city to run effectively.
So next up is our Community Connect project. This was with Fire and Communications. And what we did, we met with Milton's communication director and a member of the fire department to learn more about Community Connect. And Community Connect is a platform that residents and business owners can use to share information with the fire department that could save critical moments in an emergency. So we created a brochure that detailed the program, its purpose, and how to register. And then the fire department has printed out hundreds of copies to give out at events and display at community spaces. And we learned just how Milton's fire department works to keep households and businesses safe in the event of a fire or other emergency, and just how important each second is in an emergency. The next up is our economic development packet. This was with the economic development department. And what we did, we created a packet that detailed economic development in Milton and listed the important information that would help convince business developers to move their businesses to Milton. So we researched business development in North Fulton, and we offer different insights on how Milton can leverage the strength of Fulton County and Metro Atlanta. And we played with different data such as real estate and population statistics, which enabled us to learn a lot about the business environment in Milton. And overall, we got a really good economic snapshot of Milton. And we learned how important it is to leverage Milton and being able to bring businesses in to develop our city. And we learned about the different regulations that Milton has to preserve its rural heritage. For example, only 2% of the land can be used for commercial use.
The next project we did was the ADA transition plan with Public Works. ADA stands for the Americans with Disabilities Act, and Public Works was looking to implement ADA standards across Milton facilities. For this project, we attended a Public Works meeting where we not only got to learn about the project that we'd be completing, we also got to sit in on a meeting and kind of learn what Public Works is all about. This project, we created an ADA transition plan that the city could use when carrying out ADA inspections. And to do this, we researched federal ADA requirements, we created checklists, and organized the information in an easy-to-use Excel spreadsheet. Once we completed this spreadsheet, we conducted our own inspection of Milton City Hall and kind of walked around with a tape measure and making sure everything was up to code. So that was cool. This was probably one of my favorite projects because not only was I able to learn about the ADA Act. For example, at this meeting that we were at with Public Works, they asked if either of us knew what ADA was, and neither of us had any idea. Now I feel like I know all about it, and I think that's pretty cool. And also, I thought this project helped me to see the way that local governments work to cooperate with federal mandates, and I think that's like a really cool learning experience and something that I can take with me. And the next project was the Independence Day celebration with Parks and Recreation. So this project was definitely one of our biggest projects of the year, and we worked on it almost every single day in June. And for this project, we filed the special event permit, we ordered the required materials, and we corresponded with vendors to ensure that the event would run smoothly. After all the initial preparations were complete, we contacted local businesses to get them involved in the event. I think it was really cool for me to see how the city works with the local businesses. What I learned from this event was that event planning is not easy. It takes a lot, to say the least. That might be the understatement of the century, but it was not easy. Thankfully, you got Emily running the show. She does a great job, and it requires a lot of work. And another thing that resonated with me from this project was just how awesome the city's relationship is with the citizens, and I think that event just showcased what Milton's all about, and that was really cool for me to see.
And then finally, our biggest project this year, and one of our favorites, was Municode. We did this with the city clerk, Tammy. And Municode is a program that many city governments use to create agendas to run council sessions, streamlining the process to make it all digital and easy to record. So we were trying to figure out a way to use more of the features that Municode has to leverage its full potential to be more efficient. And so in using Municode's features to their full extent, we eliminated the need for DocuSign, and we saved some valuable time in creating the agendas for council meetings, as well as significantly reducing costs. And we used a mock meeting to create agenda items, playing with the workflow and approval process. And we built out an agenda from scratch, which is really cool to see. And then we also developed ideas to simplify Municode for employees to learn, and created a guide to teach them the program and streamline the agenda process. And what we learned, we were able to observe council meetings and gain insight into the preparation and details involved in each agenda item. And we were able to track an item from its creation all the way to its discussion in a council meeting, which was cool to see it go from beginning to the end. And going into this project, we were not familiar with how the council meetings even worked. So it was really cool to see how council functions and how the citizens are so involved in its process. So some final thoughts we had. City government is more complicated than it may seem. All the departments work so well together to accomplish such great things. And it was really cool to see how vital each department is to the functionality of the city as a whole. And the relationship the city has with the citizens is like no other. And it really surprised us just how involved the citizens of Milton are in even just events or council meetings or just businesses. And one of our favorite parts of the internship has been connecting with everyone here at City Hall, as we've been able to learn so much from them in such a short time. And we loved how we're able to do and learn something new every single day, as we've been able to work on so many different projects this summer. And then finally, we want to make a special thank you to Emily for making the summer so much fun for us and being such a great mentor, boss, and friend. We also want to thank the Parks and Rec team for making us feel so welcome and making every single day a blast. We'd also like to thank each department head for being so welcoming and willing to teach us new things. And we truly learned so much from each department and are so grateful for this experience. We'd also like to thank Mayor and Council for this incredible internship program and allowing us to join the Milton family. We're going to miss everyone here at the City of Milton.
Thank you very much for listening to our presentation.
Well, you got it, and I think council's going to grill y'all. Got some questions for you.
Ready to go.
Thank you, Jack and Morgan. Hope that y'all saw what of a great group of staff members we have here, how we treat our residents, and how involved they are to really make this community special. So I know y'all are going to do a lot of great things in the future. So we want to say thank you, and we're going to get a group picture. Is that okay?
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Ready to
Great
go.
presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you
You
very
guys
much.
did great.
Go down.
Code enforcement officers over here.
Do one with them and then one, yes.
Okay, let's actually, you know what? Can we scoot a tiny bit this way?
We're going to do one and then one with the group.
Yeah, there we go. That works. Okay, 3, 2, 1. And then Emily, hop on in.
And do y'all want to come up? Do they want to come up, Emily?
Parks and Rec, y'all want to join me?
Okay, you jumped to balance them out. Okay. Here, actually, and then, oh, that's fine. That works. You're all in there. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
I tried looking it up. I couldn't. Okay. Want to spell it?
Okay, there are no first presentation items. We'll move on to the public hearing. Will the city clerk please sound the item?
Mayor, that first item is consideration of the issuance of an alcohol beverage license to Day Pack Ichiban LLC, doing business as Ichiban, 5306 Wynwood Parkway in Milton. It's agenda item number 24222. Our finance director, Ms. Karen Ellis.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening, we have 2 alcohol beverage licenses for your review. The first is Daipak Ichiban LLC, doing business as Ichiban. This is an existing business, just a new license, located at 5306 Wynwood Parkway. They are applying for consumption on premises wine, malt beverage, distilled spirits, and BYOB, as well as on-premise Sunday sales. This was advertised in the Milton Herald on July 25th and August 1st, 2024. Here is the location as it relates to other alcohol beverage license holders in this area on Wynwood Parkway. This will be a full-service restaurant and meets the 40% gross square footage requirements. Gross square footage of the area was 4,560 square feet. Seating area taking up 2,505 square feet, which leaves a seating area of over 55%. This is also an eating establishment and meets the 50% of annual gross food and beverage sales from the sale of prepared food or meals threshold. Couldn't get that word out. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Karen, what is the difference between their alcohol license today versus what this is?
It's a new owner.
Oh, it's a new owner.
New owner, yes. Existing business, new owner. Each owner has its own license.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Do we have any public comment on this?
There are none, sir.
Okay. I'll close the public hearing and no other council discussion. I'll open it for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve agenda item number 24-222.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Jacobus and a second from Councilmember Cranmer to approve agenda item 24-222. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Will the city clerk please say on the next item?
Next item is consideration of the issuance of an alcohol beverage license to Zest JBA Ventures LLC, doing business as Bombay Republic, 13020 Morris Road, Suite J, here in Milton. Agenda item number 24223. Karen Ellis.
We lost video. The next item is for Zest, JBA Ventures LLC, doing business as Bombay Republic. This is located at 13020 Morris Road, Suite J. And they are applying for consumption on premises, wine, malt beverage, distilled spirits, and on-premise Sunday sales. This also was advertised in the Milton Herald on July 25th and August 1st. And here it is in relations to other alcohol beverage license holders off Morris Road. And this will be a full-service restaurant. It already is a full-service restaurant. Its seating meets the 40% gross square footage requirements, coming in at 3,476 gross square feet with a seating area of 1,560 square feet, which meets 45%. 5% in excess of the 40% minimum. It also is an eating establishment and meets those minimum requirements as well. If you have any questions on that one, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions? No? Any public comment?
There are none.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing and I'll open it for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve agenda item number 24-223.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Verhoff and a second from Councilmember Jacobus to approve agenda item number 24-223. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Will city clerk please say on the next item?
Item C is consideration of the adoption of impact fee ordinance and fee schedule amendment relating to the City of Milton's impact fee program. The first public hearing was on July the 22nd regular city council meeting, with tonight's being the second public hearing. It's agenda item number 24212. Our planner 2 and ComDev, Jackie Lim, and our consultant, Paige Hatley. Jackie Jennings, that's right. Mary, gotta change that.
Sorry about that. Good evening. Tonight is the second scheduled public hearing to consider amendments to the Development Impact Fee Ordinance. The first public hearing was convened 2 weeks ago. No comments were received. State law does require that there are 2 hearings before any changes can be made to an ordinance. Specifically, we're looking at a few text amendments to your current ordinance. The provisions are almost about 10 years old. Everything is crafted to be compliant with state law. We're just seeking to provide some clarity to some of the text. Everything that's proposed has been reviewed with your city attorney. Changes include a new fee schedule that would change what could be collected from the parks, fire, roads, and police public facility categories. Sequentially, when a community is doing a full update to an impact fee program, there does need to first be adoption of your capital improvements element, or CIE, which is the project-based document. You all, of course, have done that. That was adopted after DCA approval last month. And so looking ahead then, as mentioned, we've already satisfied one of the 2 requirements for the public hearings 2 weeks ago. And then after tonight's public hearing, then that is the first opportunity that mayor and city council can consider adoption of the overall amended ordinance, both text and fee schedule. You have the track change version of the ordinance, of course, and it's also available online to the public. Just in summary, again, repeating last presentation just a little bit, but everything that is in the ordinance is consistent and supports state law and includes requirements for assessing and collecting impact fees, provides comprehensive guidance for administering an impact fee program, and it also Again, to be compliant with state law, it has to include the following mechanisms to give folks an opportunity to apply for a reduction in impact fees on a case-by-case basis. These are all application-driven, require approval. They don't happen often, but we do need to make sure that there is an opportunity to contest an assessed fee through an appeals process. There are opportunities to apply for a reduction in fees for a particular project through the individual assessments classification or the exemptions process for projects that can prove that they provide extraordinary economic growth through a series of detailed review criteria that are already in your ordinance. And then finally, an ability to apply for a freeze on the current fee schedule for up to 180 days. And that's just gives folks an opportunity to, if they understand that the fee schedule is about to change, they can request that for 6 months the fees stay static. And then even though a new fee schedule may be adopted. So that's just a little bit of a transition mechanism between two different fee schedules. So in addition to the text changes, what's included at the end of the ordinance is the prospective new fee schedule. And as we've discussed before, we've pulled in the maximum fee schedule. So this is the maximum that could be collected as calculated in the methodology report. And based on discussion after the last public hearing, we did insert an effective date of January 1st. That gives staff enough time to make sure the system is updated and also gives an opportunity to inform the public of the change. What's shown here is just excerpted as a reminder of, for a detached single-family home, what the new maximum fee would be. This is an increase, I'm rounding, but your current fee for a detached single-family home is about $7,800, and the new maximum is about $10,652. So that can be then adopted as is at this maximum, or Mayor and City Council, you could also adopt a lower rate overall, either through reducing one or more of the public facility categories. Whatever percentage reduction is made in one category has to be made to all land uses in that category. And we've got 2 pages of land uses that I'll show in just a minute. And in some few instances, communities also consider phasing in the adopted fee. So if you adopted 100%, they could either be effective January 1, but consideration could also be given to phasing it in over a few months, or in some instances, folks do it longer than that, over a year or so. This is at the end of the impact fee ordinance. The insertion of the fee schedule reflects the maximum fee schedule. As you can see, it's a variety of non-commercial or non-residential predominantly uses, with the residential uses, on the first page here. And then that follows with typical uses. And then lastly, just a reminder that what we've been going through the past several months to fully update the impact fee program has been an extensive process, what I'm calling a major update. You don't have to go through this again to make minor amendments to your ordinance. But if you want to revisit the fees, if you want to revisit the projects, have an updated list of projects, then we would do what was done over the past several months. As a reminder, comprehensive plans are updated every 5 years. That's a requirement by state law. You don't have to update your impact fee programs every 5 years, but it's a good rule of thumb that after you do a comp plan, maybe pay attention to your impact fee program. Minor, though, examples of what are typically applied or undertaken by cities. Once you adopt this ordinance, if you want to consider, or if there's a need to add a land use to the fee schedule, some communities, they reduce the fees. As we've discussed, you can't exceed your maximum, but you can always reduce the fees by just amending the ordinance based on the information you have after 2 public hearings. And then if you wanted to alter or review your criteria for considering exemptions, some communities, I think only 2, Savannah and Sandy Springs, have actually adopted exemption criteria that applies to affordable housing. If the city ever wanted to go down that road, then that would be, you could just do an amendment after 2 public hearings without all of this process with the additional meetings and documents. So I just wanted to point that out as far as moving forward with additional housekeeping, if you will, that could be had for the ordinance. And that's all I have for the presentation.
Any public comment on this?
There are none.
Okay, close the public hearing. Any council questions? We're going to vote on this a little bit later under unfinished business. Questions? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Will the city clerk please say on the next item?
Mayor, item D is consideration of an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Milton, Georgia to establish the ad valorem tax rate of the city of Milton for fiscal year 2025 and for other purposes. The first public hearing was this morning's special called council meeting. It's tonight. The second one is tonight's meeting, and then we'll have the third public hearing next Monday on the 12th at a special called. It is agenda item number 24224. Our deputy city manager, Ms. Bernadette Harville.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We are here this evening to discuss setting the 2024 millage rate, which will fund fiscal year 2025 activity. As the city clerk mentioned, this is the second of 3 required public hearings, and we'll go into the details of those requirements a little later in the presentation. And this presentation will mirror this morning's presentation as well. First, here we have the agenda for this public hearing. We'll go over some important definitions, followed by the state's requirements for public hearings and advertisements regarding setting a millage rate. Next, we will discuss the millage rate options. Please keep in mind, council can approve any millage rate up to the legal cap of 4.731 mils. Staff has advertised at the current millage rate of 4.389 mils to allow the council the flexibility to select any rate up to and including the current millage rate without the need to re-advertise or hold any additional meetings. If council wishes to adopt a rate from 4.390 to 4.731 mils, that will require additional advertisements and hearings, and we'll discuss how this relates to the fiscal year 2025 budget, which has been prepared later in this presentation. Following the millage rate overview, we'll break down the digest by category and show the taxes that will be levied at the current millage rate, as well as the rollback millage rate, which will be followed by a review of the financial metrics overview of Milton and its neighboring North Fulton cities, as well as an overview of the draft general fund budget summary for fiscal year 2025, and a look at the capital improvement plan's forecasted PAYGO transfers. After that, we will look at some ways property owners can reduce their tax liability, how to calculate a tax bill, and the value of the citizens' tax dollars as a Milton taxpayer. Here we have some definitions. The first one is a mill. A mill is $1 per $1,000 of assessed property value, or 0.001 multiplied by the assessed value. There's a fair market value, which is an estimate of the market value of your property as determined by the Fulton County Board of Assessors, not to be confused with any estimates by something like Zillow or another real estate agent. We have the assessed or taxable value. That is 40% of the fair market value. Property taxes are calculated by multiplying the millage rate by the assessed or taxable value once they've been adjusted for any exemptions that you're eligible for. There's a formula down there to show that. We have 2 important concepts that we'll talk about throughout this evening's presentation. The first one is the rollback rate. This is the previous year's millage rate minus the millage equivalent to the total net assessed value added by reassessments. And that millage equivalent is the equation where reassessments of existing real property is divided by the current year's net digest, then multiplied by the prior year's millage rate. The goal of this is to try to get the assigned value of a millage rate to reassessments. Anytime the city's advertised millage rate exceeds the computed rollback rate, we must hold 3 public hearings to allow for citizen input. Since Milton advertised at the current millage rate to allow council that flexibility to adopt any millage rate up to and including the current rate, we will hold the 3 public hearings as follows. We had the first one this morning at 9 a.m. This is our second hearing this evening, and we'll hold 1 final meeting before the adoption on the 12th. Prior to the adoption, we will have the full budget workshop, and we'll go over our budget in detail for you before you select your millage rate. In addition to the public hearings, the city is required to place 2 ads and prepare a formal press release. At least 1 week before each public hearing, the notice of property tax increase must be published. That was published on July 25th and August 1st. And at least 1 week before the meeting where the millage rate will be adopted, the current tax digest and 5-year history of levy must be published, and this was published on August 1st. Both ads must also be made available on the city's website, and our communications director, Greg Patello, has helped me ensure that these requirements are met this year. All of the figures from the ads are based on data provided by Fulton County. Here you can see a snippet of the PT 32.1, which we received from the county for our digest data. Again, this data is prepared prior to the due date for any appeals, so it's a snapshot in time. And I'd just like to point out that Milton is required to estimate homestead exemptions for the coming year using values provided by the county. And the county does not true up the data to reflect changes that result from final digest being issued or any other appeals that are finalized throughout the year. So there's always a slight difference between the exemptions reported here and those which you may see in other reports that the city issues. But it shouldn't be statistically significant. Here again, we have the math behind the ads. I won't go through them, but this shows you how you can get to the same numbers that we use for the advertisements. It shows you how you can calculate the millage equivalent, the rollback rate, and that percentage tax increase. Those all go with the notice of property tax increase ad. Then in the 5-year history and current digest, we have those two calculations to show the current year net tax digest for the taxes levied, as well as the percent increase year over year at 100% collection rate. The next few slides will go over the millage rate scenarios, including the current millage rate of 4.389 mils and the calculated rollback rate, which would offset any increases that resulted from the reassessment of existing real property, which is at 4.171 mils. On this slide, you will also see the adopted millage rates back to incorporation, and at the bottom of the slide, you will see the separately calculated green space bond millage rate. This is the variable rate used to allow for property tax collections for debt service payments on the bond, including principal and interest due in fiscal year 2025. This rate is in addition to the maintenance and operating rate and is not included in the legal cap of 4.731 mils. For reference, the bond millage rate last year was 0.364 mils and 0.452 mils the year prior. As you may recall, the basic and floating homestead exemptions do not apply to the bond millage rate, but all other city-provided exemptions now apply to both rates, as was approved by council a couple of years ago. Based on the current digest figures, we have forecasted a bond millage rate of 0.356 mils to cover that debt service due in fiscal year 2025. As the digest values fluctuate, the millage rate required to pay off the annual debt service will fluctuate as well. Before we go into the details on the budget, I wanted to quickly go over our annual update to our financial metrics comparison. This comparison was one of the objectives included in the strategic plan and helps us understand how our government is doing compared to surrounding jurisdictions. When looking at the per capita data, it is important to recall that Milton has an intentionally reduced density and a smaller commercial footprint. You can see here in the third table that with a lower millage rate, other cities are able to collect significantly more revenues due to the makeup of their communities. When looking at expenditures, you can see that Milton, even with its lower density, has the second lowest per capita spending, something that our team is very proud of. And when looking at the actual operating spending, we can see that we are a fair margin lower than the other jurisdictions nearby. The next graph shows how each government is spending its operating funds by function. You can see that all the cities are trending similarly, with public safety and general government being the top two areas. And the final area we look at in our comparisons is debt. All the figures here are through fiscal year 2023's audited financials. I believe one of our neighboring jurisdictions has had new issuance, which will change these tables next year. But again, with our density, you can see where our per capita falls. But then on our actual average total debt, we are the lowest debt issuance. For the sake of transparency of this table, we have removed the claim liability associated with our pending litigation, but even when taking that into consideration, we are still the lowest at this time. I think that's important to kind of set the stage in talking about the next few slides, which is our budget anticipations. So on the left side of the screen, you can see the original fiscal year 2025 revenue forecasts that were projected this time last year. Our team reviewed current circumstances, including trends related to other revenue sources, and have updated the forecast to align with the current millage rate of 4.389 mils. On the right side of the screen, you can see the taxes that will be levied under the current millage rate, as well as that of the rollback millage rate for real property, personal property, and motor vehicle for year one. We use 97%, 65%, and 70% respectively, as these are the collection rates based on the historic data we've had, what we actually collect compared to what our PT 32.1 says our revenues will forecast. The current millage rate would yield anticipated revenues 5.23% or $808,340 higher than the rollback millage rate of 4.171 mils. Here we have our general fund budget summary. that compares the current projections for fiscal year 25 to the amended budget for fiscal year 24. Again, these amendments include some updates pending council approval, which will be presented in September for consideration. Staff has made some alterations since the feedback sessions over the past few months, but nothing material has changed, and all updates will be reviewed in detail at the budget workshop next Monday before council adopts the millage rate. Fiscal year 2025's property tax projections are again based on that 4.389 millage rate. And you can see here, we have all the comparisons of the revenues within the tax category. Current year property taxes are our highest revenue source at about 34% of our of our taxes, of our revenues anticipated in fiscal year 2025. That is down 1% from last year. Most cities have a commercial tax base closer to 40 or 50% of their digest, while Milton's remains at approximately 11 to 13%. So that's always important to remember. That kind of talks back to how when we saw how our revenues come in, they're so differently than some of the other surrounding jurisdictions. Last week, he asked where in the budget there might be some discretion to consider when reviewing our millage rate options. As mentioned earlier, historically, the most discretion has been found in the capital pay-go area of the budget. Some areas of the capital budget are less discretionary than others as we aim to maintain equipment and infrastructure at certain levels, thereby avoiding more costly repairs in the long run. And as you may recall, we paused a few projects in Parks and Recreation this year in order to take advantage of an unforeseen opportunity to obtain land and build a new active athletic park on Deerfield Parkway. The slide you see here has funding beginning to go back into the community center, as well as the new turf fields at Bell Memorial Park. When considering the millage rate to fund fiscal year 25, there are pros and cons to consider on both sides. With the current millage rate, we can begin to fund these projects, but there may be areas that can be reviewed at mid-year once we see the audited fund balance for fiscal year 24, and also see how the new impact fees are coming in with these projects are also eligible for. Again, we're not making that decision this evening, but we did want to share this feedback with you for your consideration over the next week as you look at your options. As Milton's digest is primarily residential, which we just mentioned, the city recognizes several exemptions in order to reduce the tax liability for qualifying property owners. There's a basic homestead exemption and 2 exemptions available for our senior population, including a full value exemption option and a full value exemption option for those with permanent disabilities. As a reminder again, our senior exemptions now apply to both the maintenance and operating and bond millage rates. We also have the newer floating homestead exemption, which applies to the primary residence and up to 5 contiguous acres of land. This exemption alone outpaces all of Milton's other exemptions, including the full value exemptions we just talked about. The floating exemption is the difference between the current assessed value and the adjusted base year value. The adjusted base year value for property owners with a basic homestead exemption is the lower of the appraised values from 2016, 17, and 18. And new purchasers are given the lower of the current or immediately preceding year's appraised values as their base year. You can see here that the calculation shows that even with an increased fair market value, the difference of that is taken out in an exemption. So it's important to note, and we'll talk about that again in one moment. All exemption applications for the county and the city are due by April 1 of each tax year, of each calendar year, so to qualify for that current year's tax bill. In addition to exemptions offered by the city, properties under 2,000 acres that qualify under the state's conservation use laws are eligible for a conservation use value assessment or CUVA program to further their tax liability. There is a requirement to maintain the property at those standards for a period of 10 years, and if approved, the property value be based on land use rather than market value, and we've seen this as a significant savings for many of our property owners. And before we move on to how to calculate your tax bill, I just wanted to take a moment to point out a few things about the annual assessment notices that tend to cause a little bit of confusion. It is important to note that the assessment is not a bill, and although the county provides an estimate at the bottom of the assessment as they are required to do so by state law, property owners cannot use this to calculate their anticipated taxes due for 2 main reasons. The first is that we are here this evening. We are here to set our millage rate. So they are using the prior year's millage rate. We have yet to approve one. And the second one is that the county does not maintain parcel level exemption data for Milton's exemptions since we do our own tax billing. So if you qualify for a city exemption or that floating homestead exemption we just talked about, you will not see it on your bill. So it makes the bill appear significantly high, or the estimated bill significantly higher than your actual tax bill will be at the end of the year. So we ask everyone to kind of look at their assessments, make sure their fair market value is in line with what they believe is fair. And if they have any questions about their exemptions, they can always contact the finance department. They will help them, let them know which is one of their exemptions they have in place. I've also been showing people to kind of look at their 2023 assessment notice compared to their 2023 tax bill to see just how different those can be. So now let's discuss how one can calculate their tax bill. We use the same average fair market value from last year's presentation at $700,000, and this slide shows that here with a basic homestead exemption. Sometimes when you get into utilizing the CPI values, it's a little more confusing, but if you are eligible for a CPI value, it would be even lower on that assessed value line, and then you would be taking additional $15,000 off from that exemption. So you take your fair market value at 40%, reduce it by your exemptions, and then you get your taxable or subtotal. This case would be $265,000, and you multiply that by your millage rate. And you can see here, we have that current year millage rate and rollback rate for you. So you can see that your taxes due under each scenario would be $1,163.09 versus $1,105.32. The difference there being 5.23% or $57.77. The department distribution on this table is based on the current fiscal year 2025 proposed budget, and it takes permitting revenue into consideration as a direct funding source for community development. You can see how the $1,163.09 collected from a homesteaded property with a fair market value of $700,000 would be broken down by different segments of the city, as well as by year, month, and day. So residents with an average home value of $700,000 with a basic homestead exemption are paying $3.19 a day for these city services, and approximately $3.03 a day at the 4.171 mills. And finally, you can see here the comparison of where those taxes go towards. About 43% of ours go towards public safety. And then down at the bottom, you can see our PAYGO program at 16% at second. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And again, this is our second of 3 public hearings.
Any questions for Ms. Bernadette?
Mayor, I have a few, if I may. Bernadette, thank you. Great presentation again. I do have a couple of questions with regards to not necessarily rollback, but any reduction in the millage rate. Is there any impact to our bond rating? Is there any implication to that?
Yes, so it's an important question to ask. And changing your millage rate does not have a direct impact on your bond rating. We spoke earlier about this, and we definitely checked with our financial advisors to make sure. And there are 4 main areas that our bond rating agencies look at. One is our economic viability. One is the sustainability of our long-term forecasts along with our sound financial policies. Then we have to look at the ability to recover if there's a negative unforeseen circumstance or economic downturn. So the way that Milton utilizes that PAYGO program has in the past spoken to give us that AAA rating when we had no credit history, to show that we do have the flexibility to bounce back from something that could occur in the economy by utilizing that PAYGO program to keep operations going. And then the 4th thing they look at is long-term debt liabilities, such as our pension, OPEB, and other debt. But utilizing a millage rate to support your plan, as long as you have a strong plan that you can sustain shown in your long-term plan, it won't be a problem to choose a millage rate which supports that.
Okay. Thank you for the follow-up on that. With regards to just at a macro level, when I look at the proposed budget at the current millage rate, we've got revenue increasing by 3.1%, expenses increasing by 13.1%. Historically, how has this looked, and is that ratio sustainable?
Yes, so we took a look at it. We are sustainable. So we look every year. So there's 2 things to look at with that consideration in mind. Is how did our fund balance yield compared to our requirements by law? So we are meeting our 25% of required reserves every year. So that speaks to our history. And then looking forward, we have our budget going into the future. And although we're seeing some inflation within our expenditures, that's being pared down a little bit as we look at what our projected spending is. So we have a projected revenues of about 3% increase going forward, and projected expenditures around 5% over the 4 years of the 5-year plan. So we do have an increase this year. We have some things coming online. We took a look at some of the things that are one-time spending that'll be in 25 that won't recur, compared to also to some recurring spending.
Right.
So of course we have one of our main expenditures is staffing.
Yep.
We are public service, and public safety is one of our larger expenditures, and as well as the other staff. And we do have that 5% placeholder, so that's going to make an impact on that 13% number you're seeing. We also have some requests for some new staffing this year. And then additionally, we have new softwares that are coming online that will be recurring in nature, but that we've accounted for with the revenues we're forecasting. We have the new ambulance subsidy that'll now be recurring that wasn't previously, that you're seeing for the first time in fiscal year 25.
What is that one? What is that one? The what?
The ambulance subsidy.
Oh,
So in the
okay.
fire department, it's
Yeah,
over
yeah.
$100,000 line item that we've not seen in the past.
Yep.
We have some contingencies that we brought back. So previously we had a lot of vehicles under warranty, and now we've increased some of the apparatus and vehicle repair lines to be prepared for the potential of needing like a large engine replacement and a fire engine.
Yeah.
Things like that we brought back online this year for the first time in a little while. Then we have some notable one-time expenditures that you won't see recurring as we look out into the rest of the 5-year plan. So we have implementation costs for some of our new softwares that'll be one-time in 25. We have some city hall facility and landscaping improvements. We're painting the birdhouse. We have some website upgrades that occur every 5 to 8 years. Some of these are cyclical. They may occur down the line, but not every year.
Mm-hmm.
We have one-time Fire Station 45 coming online, so there'll be some of the furniture, fixtures, and equipment that are below a capital nature that'll show up in this year's budget that will not show up again. We have some fencing and bathroom renovations out at Legacy Park, and then we have a demo schedule for Lockapani Preserve. So those are some of the larger ones that we talked about. When we go over our budget next week, we will go over those department by department and kind of show where changes within the departments have occurred, but those are some of the larger ones I picked out.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, just a few more questions, if I may.
Oh, go for it.
PAYGO, this annual contribution, is it in line with what we've contributed in the past? And I'm looking at the projection versus our actuals years ago, and it just seems significantly less. Can you just speak to the variance between the 15 million that we put in PAYGO versus the projected 9.3 for 25?
Absolutely. We have two approaches to our PAYGO program. We have our 7-year long-term capital improvement plan, which designates more of a systematic amount each year. It's been for around $7 million to $8 million. And then we have the approach at the end of the year. What we look at the end of the fiscal year, we have revenues that typically come in about 2% or under above our projections. And then if we have vacancies in staffing or spending that we did not incur, those monies go back into fund balance. So around March of each year, we come back before the council and we talk about any revenues that are beyond our required reserves. And by law, within our own code, those can be used on one-time expenditures. So we put those back into our PAYGO program. So you'll see a certain amount in the initial part of the budget that we intend to spend regardless of what happens and is budgeted within this current year's budget. And then we have considerations for any funding remaining from the previous year that gets reallocated to that PAYGO program around April or May of each year.
Gotcha.
So that's why that number every year, that number you see in the budget will be different than the end of year actuals.
Gotcha.
Due to that two-pronged approach to our capital program, which allows us sometimes to accelerate. So you may see in the 7-year plan that we may not get to bring something online for another 2 or 3 years, but through the prioritization of council, that may be sped up based on the funding that's available at the end of the year to put towards a certain project.
So to
Deerfield-
summarize that,
Deerfield's a good
historically,
one.
you've seen the year beginning projection higher at year end or somewhere near year
Yeah,
end.
typically we'll have more money to put towards that program than anticipated due to
Good.
the circumstances in the general fund.
Okay, thank you. And last question, with regards to the new active park, are we ready to go with that? And is everything accounted for within the budget between this year and certainly going into next year?
Yeah, that kind of speaks to what we were just talking about a little bit. So the new athletic park, that opportunity came to us and we were able to look at that and look at our PAYGO program and kind of adjust some of the projects to be able to do that now instead of waiting several years to finally be able to build out that park for the community. So the paused projects have put about $23 million towards the $28 million needed to purchase the land and build out that park. And the remaining about $5 million will be with the sale of the Hopewell Road property or other properties throughout the city that we are projecting. It's in the 25 budget. You'll see that when we go through the details, that's the final revenue line anticipated to fund that project.
And Bernadette, real quick, you said the pause projects were 23 million, but I mean, we had ARPA money and others money that was budgeted
Yes.
for that.
Yes, sorry. So all the
pause projects,
PAYGO,
right.
did I say pause?
Yeah,
Sorry,
you
the
said pause
PAYGO, sorry,
projects.
apologies. The PAYGO money was 23 million,
Okay.
which included some of those pause projects, which was Providence Park, which is primarily all of the need to haves were done there. These were the nice to haves later in the master plan that we're looking at. And then we have the green print going on. So we have paused the funding for the passive parks, which will come back online with the green print. And then finally we had the
Indoor.
that's right, the indoor community center. Sorry, I'm getting there.
It's like we bumped
Which we
that
can
out
look at,
another
yeah.
year or something.
It's bumped out a few more years, and we can also look at down the line other revenue sources if we need to.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
No, we're going to see you next week, right?
I'll be here.
All right. So any public comment on this?
There are none.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing and we'll vote on this next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
Okay, we'll move on to the zoning agenda. Will the city clerk please read the zoning rules and sound the item?
Thank you, Mayor. Let me first start with the zoning rules. When the mayor and city council consider a zoning agenda, these items include rezoning petitions, modifications of zoning, use permits, and associated concurrent variances, in addition to ordinances, resolutions, and text amendments. The applicant and those speaking in support of an application will be allowed a total of 10 minutes to present the petition. The opposition will also be allowed a total of 10 minutes to present its position. If time remains, the opposition will be allowed to review. The applicant may choose to save some of the time for rebuttal following the presentation by the opposition. Since the burden of proof is upon the applicant will be allowed to make closing remarks provided time remains within the allotted time. Those called to speak will be taken in order in which speaker cards were received. All speakers will identify themselves by name, address, and/or organization. The Planning Commission has heard the rezoning agenda items, and their recommendations have been forwarded to the mayor and city council for consideration and disposition. The applicant shall not submit material to the council during this meeting unless requested to do so. All material that they wish to be reviewed by the council in consideration of your application should have already been submitted to the Community Development Department and is included in the normal distribution of packages to the council. When an opponent of a rezoning action has made within 2 years immediately preceding the filing of the rezoning action being opposed, campaign contributions aggregating $250 or more to a local government official of the local government which will consider the application, it shall be the duty of the opponent to file a disclosure with the governing authority of the respective local government at least 5 days prior to the Planning Commission meeting. A violation of relevant state statute constitutes a misdemeanor. Therefore, if you have contributed $250 or more to a council member and you have not filed a disclosure prior to the Planning Commission meeting, the city strongly suggests that you have someone else speak for your point of view. Our first and only zoning item this evening is consideration of a text amendment, RZ 24-01, to the Unified Development Code for the City of Milton to prohibit the sale of consumable hemp products and/or unregulated marijuana products. It is agenda item number 24210. Our interim community development director, Ms. Diana Wheeler.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This next agenda item concerns a staff-generated initiative. This is a proposal to add 2 definitions to the Unified Development Code to speak to the issue of consumable hemp products. The 2 additional definitions that are being proposed would add definitions for retail consumable hemp products and unregulated marijuana substitute retail shops. And then after adding these 2 new definitions in the Unified Development Code, these 2 particular uses would be prohibited in every use district. And so to provide a background for why this is necessary, I'm going to call on Chief Griffin to come and share some information with you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So in the past, the police department in our municipal court have had some issues with prosecution under the original city ordinance, specifically for Delta 8 products with elevated THC levels, specifically mostly due to the 2018 Farm Bill that was passed that legalized most of these products. And these companies constantly manipulating the chemical makeups of the products that they're selling. After several discussions with multiple staff members here at the city, it was decided that the best path to combat the issue was through zoning. And that's what brought us here tonight. The city currently has 2 main stores that can sell consumable hemp products. One's on Highway 9 and one's on Windward Parkway. In addition to this zoning amendment, parts of Senate Bill 494 that the governor signed into law go into effect this October, that will also require every establishment that wishes to sell consumable hemp products to obtain a state license, which will further give us some more reach, if you will, along with some other packaging guidelines and some enforcement guidelines for the Department of Agriculture to do unannounced inspections. They can test products off the shelf and test them for THC levels. A lot of the products that are being sold are not testing at the advertised levels that we're being told that they're supposed to have. That is where we're at. If you have any questions, we believe zoning is the best way to combat the issue of these stores not popping up everywhere. So,
Thank you, Chief.
thank you.
So the 2 definitions that you have before you this evening, first one relates to retail consumable hemp products, and it's defined as any retail shop that prepares or sells prepackaged consumable hemp products. And then it goes on to track the state definition for this type of use. And then we also have a definition for unregulated marijuana substitutes retail shop, which is any retail shop that prepares or sells unregulated marijuana substitutes. Unregulated marijuana substitutes shall mean and refer to any compounds or substances, and then it goes on again to track the state language. And so we've proposed to include these particular definitions in the Unified Development Code. Now, we did have public participation on this text amendment. The Community Zoning Information Meeting was held May 28th. We did not have anyone from the public attend that meeting. We also discussed this at the Planning Commission meeting on June 26th. Planning Commission did make some comments. Their comments, by and large, were incorporated into the final product that you have before you this evening. And what you'll see in the Unified Development Code, if this proposal is adopted, is that in each zoning district, starting with the traditional zoning district and then the subsequent zoning districts, you'll see definitions for the retail consumable hemp products and the unregulated marijuana substitute retail shops. And as you can see, they're not permitted in any zoning district. And so that is our proposal to you this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Any questions?
Dana, what happens to the other 2 retailers? Are they grandfathered?
They are grandfathered. They just become legal non-conforming uses, and they can continue in operation, but certainly no new businesses of that type would be permitted.
They
were to
still have to
sell?
they still have to get their state permit too, though, right? The new regulation.
Yes, that's correct.
And if they were to sell their retail shop, that license goes with them, right?
That's right. It cannot be transferred.
It can't be transferred. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Wheeler, Chief? Good. Any public comment?
There are none.
Okay. I'd like to open it for a motion.
Mayor, make a motion, we approve agenda item number 24-210.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Jacobus and a second from Councilmember Cranmer to approve agenda item number 24-2210. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. We'll move on to unfinished business. Will the city clerk please sound the item?
Mayor, item A is consideration of an ordinance to amend Chapter 22, Fire Prevention and Protection of the Milton Code of Ordinances to Article 3, Fire Code, Division 1, generally Section 22 through 43, authority to amend article. It is agenda item number 24-11. Mr. Alex Portner.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As recommended by legal, we are requesting to change one word of an existing ordinance. The fire marshal is tasked with enforcing the rules and regulations of the state-adopted minimum fire safety standards and Milton City Code, Chapter 22, Fire Prevention and Protection. When there are practical difficulties involved in carrying out the provisions of Chapter 22, Article 3, the fire marshal has the power to modify provisions, provided the strict letter of the code is impractical and the modification follows the spirit of the code. A good example of that would be we have an existing building who wants to do an addition to the structure under our strict sprinkler ordinance. In this case, technically, that addition would be required to be sprinklered. This is a non-sprinklered building, right? That addition being sprinklered would be impractical. In this case, it's a enclosed kennel space in an existing almost like a veterinary space, right? Without calling them out specifically. That is an example of something in Article 3 that we have the ability to override. All of our ordinances are more strict than that of state code. When there are practical difficulties involved in carrying out the provisions of Chapter 2 and articles other than Article 3, it is not specifically noted that the fire marshal has the power to modify those provisions. A good example of that and what brought this to light is we have a large lot development off of Taylor Road that wants to exceed the maximum amount of lots in order to have 2 fire department access roads to that development. In this particular case, these lots are landlocked, meaning there is impractical and there's no other way to get 2 fire apparatus access roads to serve these properties. Thus hindering development to this area. It's important that we have these strict ordinances to apply to maybe a 100 lot development, right? That are 1 acre lots, and we do need 2 fire department access roads. But in this particular case, our Milton ordinance speaks to 30 homes. Beyond that, we need 2 fire department access roads. The state of Georgia speaks to 2 fire department access roads after 120 homes. So it's a lot more strict. And in this particular case, with these landlocked parcels, we would hinder large lot development. So it is recommended that Section 2243, authority to amend article, be amended to state Section 2243, authority to amend chapter. And in that section, amend the word article and replace it with chapter to give the fire marshal in conjunction with the fire chief the power to modify any provisions of all articles of Chapter 22. Any questions?
Any questions for Alex? Okay, any public comment on this?
There are none, sir.
Okay, I'll close the public comment and I will open it for a motion.
A motion to approve agenda item 24-211.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Cranmer, a second from Councilmember Verhoff to approve agenda item number 24-211. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will city clerk please tell the next item?
Mayor, that next item B is consideration of the adoption of impact fee ordinance and fee schedule amendment related to the City of Milton's impact fee program. Agenda item number 24-212. And this was this is for vote.
Okay.
We had this under public hearing.
No more presentations on the
No more
impact fee.
presentations.
Okay. Any public comment on this?
No, there are none.
Okay.
sir.
Any council discussion? Okay. Hearing none, I'll open it for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion, we approve agenda item number 24-212.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Jacobus, a second from Councilor Haney to approve agenda item number 24-212. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. So we will now move on to new business. Will city clerk please say on the item?
New button business item A is approval of a conflict waiver with Gerard and Davis LLP for an amendment to the Alpharetta and Milton Municipal Court IGA. It's agenda item number 24-225. our city attorney, Mr. Ken Gerard.
Mayor, members of the council, good evening. So this is related, obviously, 12A is directly linked to 12B. And so this is simply out of an abundance of caution, since my office represents both the city of Alpharetta and the city of Milton. Whenever we bring some of these perfunctory IGAs that benefit clearly the citizens of both jurisdictions by sort of an economies of scale, it makes a lot of sense that my office can handle both of them, but I do need to divulge that I represent the city of Alpharetta and then need you to. Alpharetta will be doing the same.
Okay. Any questions for Ken? Any comment?
There are none, sir.
Okay, close public comment, open it for a motion.
Make a motion to approve agenda item number 24-225.
Second.
Okay, have a motion from Councilor Haney, a second from Councilmember Johnson to approve agenda item number 24-225. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Will the city clerk please say on the next item?
New business item 12B, Mayor, is consideration of the Second Amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Milton, Georgia, and the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, regarding shared municipal court facilities and services to include sharing and administrative assistant. It's agenda item number 24-226. Our Deputy City Manager, Ms. Stacy Inglis.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this amendment seeks to further expand our shared services with the City of Alpharetta by adding an administrative assistant. This new position would be an Alpharetta employee who would allocate 40% of their work time to the City of Milton and 60% of their work time to the City of Alpharetta Municipal Court, which is 2 days a week for Milton, 3 days a week for Alpharetta, which works with our court schedule. The addition of this role aims to ensure continuity in the court calendar when our court clerk or deputy court clerk are unavailable. It also addresses the increasing case dockets in both cities. It aims to improve response time for assisting citizens. Right now, whenever we have a court, the phones just aren't answered because our deputy court clerk is so busy processing all the payments and anything that dealing with that court, the court date. So this would allow for us to be able to respond to the phone because it seems to ring off the hook whenever we have court days. Funding for this amendment was approved in the FY24 budget process last year. So we've appropriated $29,200 for the year, but with the fiscal year coming to a close, we will only need $5,000 for the months of August and September. If we were to hire this position as a full-time City of Milton employee, the cost would be approximately $69,000 a year. So sharing this position with Alpharetta allows both cities to benefit from this resource without bearing the full cost. The City of Alpharetta has already approved this amendment during their council meeting last week, and I'll be happy to try to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions for Stacy?
No.
No. Any public comment on this?
There are none, sir.
No. Yeah, I'll tell you, it's been a fantastic partnership that we've had over the years. So
Absolutely.
I will open it for a motion.
Make a motion to approve agenda item 24-226.
Second.
Okay, have a motion from Councilmember Cranmer and a second from Councilmember Verhoff to approve agenda item number 24-226. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Any council reports? Okay. Hearing none, I will have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All right, that's a motion from Councilmember Verhoff, second from Johnson. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous.